If consistency was real, you'd already be wealthy. You've been told your whole life that success is simple. Be consistent. Show up every day. Stay disciplined. But almost nobody does. Not because they're lazy. Not because they don't care. Because consistency is a myth. It's an idea that sounds inspiring until real life touches it. Your brain wasn't built for every day. It was built for cycles. And once you understand that, you stop trying to be consistent, and you start building what actually creates results. The problem isn't that you stop, it's what you think it means. Here's what people never say out loud. Most people can be consistent for a short time, a few days, a few weeks, sometimes even a month. But the first time they miss, their brain doesn't treat it like a normal interruption. It treats it like a verdict, like evidence. And once your brain labels you inconsistent, every future attempt feels doomed before it starts. You don't fail because you stop. You fail because you expect linear progress. Your energy isn't stable. Some days you feel unstoppable. Some days you feel numb. Some days you feel anxious, overwhelmed, distracted. And if your success depends on you feeling right, then success becomes random. Because life comes in waves, not lines. Most people aren't inconsistent. They're human. But society trains you to treat fluctuation like failure. You miss a day, and your brain calls it proof that you don't have what it takes. That's the trap. Not that you stop, but that you interpret stopping as identity. This is why people restart the same goals every year. The cycle isn't plan, execute, succeed. The cycle is plan, push, slip, shame, restart. And people live inside that loop for decades. Your brain doesn't count progress, it counts breaks. Watch what happens in your mind the moment you miss a day. You don't say, "I took a break." You say, "I ruined it." One missed day becomes a stain, and the brain does something brutal. It ignores the 10 days you did it right and zooms in on the one day you didn't. That's why consistency feels impossible. Because your brain isn't tracking effort, it's tracking imperfection. Your brain quits when it can't see progress. Consistency fails because your brain needs proof, immediate feedback, visible reward. But most meaningful progress is invisible at first. Saving money feels pointless when the number barely moves. Working out feels pointless when the mirror doesn't change. Building skills feels pointless when nobody claps. Your brain sees no reward and assumes the effort is wasteful. Your brain confuses slow with wrong. So you stop. Not because you don't want it, but because the effort feels like it's disappearing. And the moment you stop, your brain labels you inconsistent. The reward isn't missing. It's just too far away for your brain to trust. This is where people get trapped, because the effort is real, but the results feel imaginary. Your brain says, if it mattered, I'd see it by now. So it stops investing. And once it stops investing, the future stays empty. which proves the brain right. That's the hidden cruelty. The mind demands proof before commitment, but proof only comes after you commit. Most people don't quit. They declare the mission ruined. Here's the real reason consistency feels impossible. Your brain interprets imperfection as failure. If you miss a day, it doesn't feel like a pause. It feels like collapse. So you stop saving entirely. You stop working out entirely. You stop trying entirely. Not because you need to, but because you don't know how to continue messy. Perfection isn't a standard. It's a trapdoor. This is called all or nothing thinking. It's the psychological error that turns small setbacks into full resets. And it's why consistency looks rare. Because consistency is being defined incorrectly. The wealthy don't reset to zero. They resume from where they are. Here's what separates people who change their lives. They don't restart. They resume. They don't ask, "How do I go back to perfect?" They ask, "How do I continue from here?" And that small change turns failure into a normal event instead of an identity. The real skill isn't consistency. It's recovery speed. The people who look consistent aren't the ones who never break. They're the ones who return faster. They don't restart from zero. They don't wait for motivation. They don't punish themselves. They simply resume. That's the secret. Not consistency, but recovery. The richest people don't have better habits. They have faster resets. They built a system where failure isn't dramatic. It's just a glitch. And because it's not emotional, it doesn't become identity. If recovery is easy, consistency becomes irrelevant. This is why design matters more than motivation. Because if your recovery is effortless, a bad day doesn't become a collapse. A missed week doesn't become a new identity. It's just a detour, and the detour ends automatically because your system brings you back. Consistency fails when you rely on mood. The replacement for consistency is design, automation, defaults, environment. Make the right behavior the easiest behavior. Because the truth is, you can't control how you feel, but you can control what happens when you don't feel like it. Systems don't care how motivated you are. That's why systems beat discipline. Systems work when you're tired, when you're stressed, when you're bored, when you're emotional. Consistency is unreliable. Systems aren't. You don't need to be consistent. You need to return. If you're building a system instead of a fantasy, subscribe. Consistency isn't a virtue. It's a misunderstanding. The people who change their lives aren't perfect. They just recover faster.